Hello and welcome to this week's Music Tech Student News and Updates. Now if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe, like it keeps the channel going and it shows us your support, which is absolutely fantastic. Now, one of the good things about running this weekly show is we do get to cover a lot of the things that have happened to us during the week and a lot of the discussions that have been going on. Now this week's discussion has revolved around the last week's video, which is component 1 recording timetable, and in it basically brought up the point of the examiner's report saying that they would prefer for centres to actually go down the route of every student recording a different song. And if you watched last week's video, you'll know that I very much said that I go down the route of recording every student, or almost every student gets the same song. I might record 2 or 3, but mostly every student gets the same song. And Pearson and Excel have referred to this as the production line process, and they're strongly against it, which is absolutely fine. I can definitely see where they're coming from. So this week we've had lots of conversations. I've talked to Jeffrey Hull, who's the principal examiner for Music Tech Student A level. I've talked to some users and just to kind of gather some feedback. And as a consensus, I think we're all kind of in the middle here, and I get both sides of it. And from my centre's point of view, we have done it both ways. Back when it was the old specification, when we had 3 pieces of coursework, for a couple of years, 3 years, I used to get the students all to record their own song. And on average, we get between 10 and 16 students. So that was between 10 and 16 different songs. Now, as you can imagine, from a time perspective, that's a lot of time to prepare all of those songs. And sometimes it's detrimental. And one of the biggest factors of this whole course, even now that we've only got to complete 2 pieces of coursework a year, and I get that we have over 2 years, but really and truly we do only have 1 year to prepare. It's time, and time is always against us. So I'm going down the route of thinking that 1 song is still better than trying to get my students to record 16. And although the examiner's report said, hey, you need to do it this way to kind of to fulfill a few of the rules, and we'll go over the rules in just a second, and we'll look at what the examiner's report says and kind of what it means. But I think it's this time aspect that's going to really play heavy on everyone's minds, because if you teach music tech, you know that the recording process takes a long time, and if you have to prepare 16 songs, it's going to take a good 2 to 3 months of time that you really don't have, in my opinion. And I don't want to appear controversial here, because I can see both sides of this argument. Now, the other thing is I think anyone that goes down the route of recording 10 to 16 songs or a song per student, which, unless you've got a really small cohort, which is not, most people are between 10 and 16, and there are a few that have got a few more than that. This is going to work against you, and this is what happened to me in the old days. I actually lost, for some flying students, I actually lost grades because it wasn't prepared well enough. Now, what I would say is, because there is an option, you can record 1 song, or you can record 1 song for every student. You're really disadvantaging those that go down the proper route of recording 1 song for every student, because any centre that chooses to do it the correct way of following the rules but only recording 1 song for everyone is going to have a massive time advantage, which is going to make their component 2 have a lot more time, and the knock-on effect can be quite big. So that's going to be the thing. So in a minute we'll have a look at the page 13 and 14 of the specification that Excel, the examiner's report, have pointed us to. And we'll also have a look at the conversation that we've had this week. Before we do that, let me just head on over to the Music Tech Student website and just show you two new courses that are available. So here on the courses page, we've got 2 new courses, a creative automation course and a vocal production course. Now, these are both by Scott Robinson, and we had the unfortunate news this week that Scott is unfortunately having to leave us this year due to a lot more pressure on his time, which is going to be a massive loss, but we wish him well. He's absolutely fantastic. If anyone is interested in becoming a tutorial provider for us for Logic Pro, give us a shout. We will, in the next few weeks, post this on the jobs board and see who we get. But if you're interested, give us a shout and we'll go through that with you. Okay, so here's last week's post. And if I scroll down to the conversation, what we've got here is a part of the examiner's report that basically just highlights that, let's read it. With regard to one song, many centres have clearly encouraged candidates to make independent song choices, and this approach is to be applauded. It is highly recommended that centres insist that all candidates record a different song, which negates any possibility of file sharing and malpractice, either deliberately or inadvertent, and also stops the production line process that some centres seem to favour, where all candidates record the same song, with often identical microphone setups in group recording sessions. So, last little bit. Teachers should look carefully at the guidelines set out on page 13 and 14 of the specification. So this is really strong wording, and this is basically saying, look, come on, we want you all to go down this route. Now, the thing that I would say is, you know what? If you strongly want us to go down this route, update the specification to say we are going down this route. Because if you give people the choice, you're going to cause problems, whether you like it or not, this will cause problems. So I just clarified this with Jeffrey Holm, who is absolutely fantastic, by the way. The guy gave me a direct response, didn't waffle, and it was brilliant. If you've ever got any problems, I definitely recommend talking to him because he's brilliant. The best advisor we've ever had by far. So here's his response here. Just this part here, look. If a student is responsible for their entire recording, then this meets the specification requirements. If a centre has all candidates record the same song, but they are in sole charge, then that would be fine and there wouldn't be any penalties. So that's the important bit there. If you follow the rules, you will not get a penalty. You're opening up this massive spread now, and you've got to be careful about that. He does go on to say, come on, at the end of the day, you've got to make sure they're doing it properly. And so it says here, however, there is an obvious and greater opportunity for malpractice to occur. And that's fair. And I have known situations where this has happened, not in my centre. I tend to take complete control of all the backups so I can quickly verify any information, but it does cause a few issues if you have a centre that are sharing audio files. That shouldn't be done. And if you think that's going to happen in your centre, then yeah, you're definitely going to have to go down the route of every student having their own song. As for the point up here where it says centres using the same microphone techniques, well, that's kind of to be where was it? It was here somewhere. That's kind of to be expected because you only have one set of microphones at the end of the day. It's not like you've got infinite microphones. So you do tend to kind of unplug the setup, pull it to the front, push down the microphone stands so that the next student that comes in has to set the whole thing up, which is absolutely right. But the setup, they are the same microphones. It's not like I have 3 or 4 different bass drum microphones or overheads or anything like that. It's always going to be that way. And if you're a small centre, you're going to be the same. So this is a difficult scenario. For my money, at this particular moment, they should make a decision. I'm thinking, it would be a hard decision. We'd probably end up losing a few centres again if they went down the route of saying, look, you have to do every student has to do a new song, because it takes a long time. Look, if I'm speaking out of turn here, I'd like to hear your comments below. Tell me what your centre does. Tell me if you think I'm being rubbish here and that I should change my practice, because this is a real grey area for me. And I mean, at the beginning of the week, I was kind of like, what are you doing to us? This is crazy. But, I get it. I do get it. And, if I have to, I will change. And I mean, I've still got a few weeks to sort out 16 songs. It's not a problem. But it would be nice to know. So, yeah, if you've got any feedback, let us know. So, here's the specification. We'll just go to page 13 and 14. Now, the areas that I'm looking at here, there are bits up here, but it's nothing for the assessment kind of hand-ins. So, You've got all the rules surrounding what should be done here. They mustn't use loops. Drum techniques must be used during the recording. Here we go. This is the very last paragraph, and there's a bit on the next page as well. During the recording sessions, the student must be the sole person in control of the entire recording process, from capture to mix down. So that's the whole thing. Okay, they're not allowed to share. But they are allowed to prepare the songs together. So, if you're doing preparation work, you are allowed to do the preparation, but just when it comes to recording, then they have to be let alone on their own. So, once again, a bit of a grey area there as well. The student may record as many takes as is practical in the time available. The recording must be made at the centre under supervision by the teacher, and may not be made under professional guidance. Absolutely. Students must complete a logbook detailing the equipment used, and then we go on. So we've got where it's happening, length, song or the list. Yeah, so this is just basically saying you've got to record the song from the list, and it must be 3.5 minutes. Then it goes on to say if it goes under, there's a penalty. If it goes over, there's a penalty. Students who submit recordings in additional to unpitched, so that's you're not allowed. Students who submit songs not on the list will get 0, absolutely. Collaboration, here we go, this is important. So students may work together on their preparation, but group recordings are not allowed. While preparation may be carried out by the student in or out of the centre, the final recording and logbook must be completed at the centre under the teacher's supervision. Group recordings are not acceptable for which the capture and mix is the group recordings are not acceptable for which the capture and mixing is the work of more than one student. Absolutely. Each individual student must do their own tracking and mixing. The sharing of audio files between students is not permitted. So I think that's fairly clear. It's basically saying, it's the student's own work, and that was the question that I put to Jeffrey on this page here. And I just said, if a centre follows the rules set out in the specification, e.g., all students are responsible for their recordings from start to mastering, but all students record the same song, will they be penalised for this decision? And which he says, as long as you follow those rules set out on this page, there will be no problems. As long, read pages 13 and 14 carefully, but as long as you follow these rules, there will not be any problems. Be aware, if you do go down that route, you probably will be slightly more scrutinised. So I hope that clears up a few things. I'm not sure that it will actually. I think it will kind of, the people that are recording one song for every student will now kind of think, oh my goodness, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. But my thought process is to contact Jeffrey Holt and just clarify for yourself. If you are going down the route of recording one song for all students, just go through that process. Just say, look, am I allowed to do this? Is this okay? This is, or even explain to him how you're going to go about it, and just see if he agrees with that process. If you really are worried about students sharing their work, you're probably going to have to go down a song for each student. I hope that was helpful. I'd love your feedback below. If I need to do another video about this, I definitely will, because it's opening up a grey area, and I think it's something that probably shouldn't be there really. If they're that opposed to it, then maybe we need to just renew the specification and just say, look, this is the situation. But if you do that, you're going to lose a lot of the smaller centres. It's as simple as that. People that don't have the time. If you're a centre running 5 or 6 people and you have to record 6 songs, the time aspect of it is just going to be mental. Guys, I hope that was useful. I will see you next week.